Okay guys, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are watching the stream. And yes, welcome back to Season 2 of the Eldar Sim Racing Porsche Caymans. This is, obviously, like I say, Season 2 of the Porsche Caymans. New sponsor for the season as well in BTCC Blueprints. So without them we wouldn't be technically racing. So I'm your host as per usual on a Friday night, and also potentially hosting the room is none other than the one and only Hoppers. How we doing, guys and girls? And yes, welcome to the stream. So we are back for Season 2 of the Eldar Sim Porsche Caymans, and hopefully this evening should be an exciting round with obviously the 10-minute qualifying that is now going to be kicking off at 7:45 instead of the usual 10 to 8 UK time, and then obviously three amazing 7 laps. The guys are just out on track, so we're going to introduce you to the class of the field and obviously explain who's come in and who's still remaining from obviously last season, and obviously a bit of background to who's gone where in the championship. So the cars are obviously still the GR3 Porsche Cayman, and obviously, you know, it is still a beautiful car to be handled with. And obviously this evening at 22:08, so that's 20:08 UK time, if you are not familiar with time zones. We'll be paying respects to Captain Tom Moore, who we lost his battle with COVID-19 this week within the glorious age of 100. So the guys will be doing a lap of honour, and I will be putting that on stream and also paying my respects. So as I say, I'm going to go through who's new to the grid and potentially who's returning. to the grid and who has moved on to pastures new. But yes, the commentating side hasn't changed, but the calendar has slightly changed. So we're here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catayluna, for the opening round. So we're at glorious the Catayluna circuit in Spain. So as I'm going to say, guys, yes, it is going to be a mega season, and I will also go through the calendar in a little moment for you guys. Basically, you know, it will be potentially one of them. Just bear with while I do exactly what I need. So just give me 1 second, I'll just catch up with basically what was happening. So yep, just give me 1 moment. We'll just get the calendar up and running as well. But yes, as I say, I've got it, it's okay. So the calendar, before I introduce the class of the field for basically the Porsche Caymans for this season, we're here at Catayluna for rounds 1, 2 and 3. Then we visit Blue Moon on the infield circuit. That will be hosting rounds 4, 5 and 6. Then we head off to Largo on the GP circuit for 7, 8 and 9. Then it's the first of two back-to-back visits to Japan within Tokyo South on the outer loop for rounds 10, 11 and 12, and then Autopolis, and of course will plays host for 13, 14, 15 in Championship. Then we go to Britain and head onto the Brands Hatch GP circuit, other than the Indy circuit. That will be the third to last round. And then we head to Mount Fuji for the penultimate round, and then we go to Germany. So we go to the home of Porsche on the glorious Nürburgring GP circuit for the final round. So yes, there is 24 races in all, and there is a point for potentially fastest lap and also pole position. So we do have a 10-minute qualifying session, which will begin at 7:45 UK time. And then we will have 3 7-lap races around here this evening, and the grid for race 1 will be determined within qualifying. And then obviously, as I say, the race 2 will be a full grid reversal, but it will be a roll and start. Sorry, as I had the stream on loud there, so I do apologise. I'm going to turn that down. So good evening to Darren, best luck in the MX-5s, my friend. It will be potentially Hoppers Motorsport Vlogs MX-5s. We are proudly sponsoring them again this season. They were going to run the Clios again, but they've decided to change to the MX-5s. So Darren will be doing the commentary for the MX-5s, which is probably sponsored by Hoppers Motorsport Vlogs. As I say, we've got Shell Lorman back, British Touring Cars with the host with the most, Malcolm Argyle, doing potentially British Touring Car commentary for this season. I couldn't even get my words out of them for a second. But yes, Malcolm will be doing BTCC commentary, and myself, Hoppers, will be doing the Porsche Caymans. So I'll introduce you to class of the field, and I will potentially give you guys exactly the insides and outs of this season, and I will tell you who is gone where. So obviously the cars are basically now two-toned coloured. They will have potentially, as you can see on one of the cars, like for example Lee Fitzy, who's joined the series from the Clios. He has the purple and black, so it's kind of a purple colour shift and a black as along with I believe he hasn't got the BTCC Blueprints logo on the back. No, he hasn't, so we have to put that on his car, so I'll have to do that for him. But that was kind of obviously me forgetting, but yeah, I will make sure that is on the car for next week. But yes, it will be very exciting. So you got Lee Fitzy in the purple and a black car. Then you got Timmy Gill making his series debut in the Porsche Caymans. He's from the Clios, so he's in the peach and sort of pink Cayman. Then you have Andrew Osler in the blue, sort of the blue and purple lilac Porsche Cayman, so he's obviously going to be very interesting. So Aussie Rooster, as he likes to be known, making his series debut. So he's from the, obviously I think he's from the Clios, and you know he's come up into there. Brian Ross was due to start the MX5 League this evening, but obviously due to his speed and his nature, he's now in the Porsche Caymans. I've known Brian for some time. He's now in the purple and sort of turquoisey mint green Cayman. You have Mutant Biped, aka Richard Barton, in the purple and blue, and obviously sort of gold yellow alloy wheels. So he's new to potentially the championship as well. I think he's from the Clios, I'm not too sure, but you know, there's a couple of good new guys. You've got series returnee Max Robertson in the lilac and green car. He's obviously returning to the frame after obviously deciding to come back, which is fair enough. You know, he's done well to come back to this level, so you know, we'll see what he can do for another season. You've got Panos, aka God Gift John, making his series debut from the Clios, the Clio champion of last season in the number 8 yellow and blue Porsche Cayman. Obviously, as I say, I don't know whether he's another one that hasn't had the sponsors or his Greek flag on the car, so I will do that as of next week. Series returnees are none other than Mark Palmer. He's in the white gold, the white and gold 68 car, and then you have Jay Baxter in the blue and white. Well, it's blue and grey, sort of silver. You'll notice Jay Baxter's will have a gingerbread man on his bonnet. Then you have Ismail Nemri, or Ismail Nemri, however he pronounced his surname. I do apologise yet again, mate, that I pronounced it wrong. But he is now in the orange and black since basically since we've had a driver drop out, so he's got his favourite livery after a while. So speaking of Mark Palmer, here's Mark's beautiful Porsche Cayman in yellow and sort of gold. It's actually quite nice to realise to get in. You know, it's one of them. So as I say, you've got Ismail Nemri in the basically orange and black Porsche Cayman. Then you have Adam Morgan. Yes, it's not British Touring Car star Adam Morgan, for those who want to know. He's in the the fluorescent pink highlighter, potentially Porsche Cayman, as he goes out of pit lane there. So just bear with while I just do that. But yes, he's in the fluorescent pink Porsche Cayman, and you know, he's obviously a bit new to the series. You do have, I believe you have Christian Swire, who's due to be joining the lobby very shortly, and of course Dean Atkinson in their respective cars. Obviously, sadly, we lost Dan Bailey to the grid. He's decided he's no longer. He's you know, he's got a lot of personal things and probably potentially a lot of interest elsewhere within the Porsche, outside of the Porsche Cayman, so he won't be returning. As I say, you've got the likes of Ismail, Jamie Baxter, Mark Palmer, and of course Max Robertson returning to the fray. And obviously we've got these new guys that are coming into play within the lobby. But as I say, you know, it's a bit of a shame that Dan's no longer taking part in the championship. You know, we would have had a green and orange car and it would have been looking so amazing. We also lost a few guys from last season. They've now gone up into the Sheldon and British touring cars. That is Jerry Dobbin, James Stephen, Gareth Morris, Ben Smith, and of course Craig Thomas. I was sad to see them go. I was kind of disappointed when I found out basically Jerry Smiles, aka Jerry Dobbin, he was running sort of an SO Peugeot 406 touring car style Porsche Cayman livery, the green and gold.
sadly he got called up to go to British Touring Car, so you know we are missing a few drivers that potentially we're doing really well, but we have got a good group, we have got potentially some good drivers, and basically it will be one of them. But as I say guys, it is technically going to be fantastic. You know, it's going to be potentially one of them. As I say, the better we go, as Neil Hall goes, oi oi, how are you doing Neil? Hope you're okay mate. But yes, as I was saying, so you got obviously the new guys within the likes of Timmy, Lee Fitzy, got Gift John, Brian Ross, and of course Adam Morgan and Oz Rooster. But you know, it's going to be taking a while to get used to people, but hopefully this evening and hopefully for the rest of the season it will be amazing. I'm just waiting for a few people to jump into the lobby, but hopefully it should be fantastic, and technically it will be one of them. But as I say, if you're struggling guys just to get into the lobby within if you're watching the stream and you can't get in, then just let me know and we'll just hop you in. But I'm just going to message Christian to see if he's coming to the lobby. But yes, as I say, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens within this evening, and also they're going to be amazing, as I say. Who's Rusty? So I believe, Rusty, I'm not ignoring you mate, basically at the moment I think we are full to capacity mate. You'd have to contact the Eldar Sim Facebook page mate, just to see if there's any spaces, just because it is a championship race and it is the first round of the championship. But yeah, so if you just contact the Eldar Sim Facebook page, well, for us, it'd be much appreciated. Just bear with me. You're obviously new to me, mate. So, no, I'm not being nasty. But yeah, if you contact the Eldar Sim Facebook page, mate, and see. But yeah, as I say, we've got a couple of series returnees and potentially new people within the lobby. So yes, as I say, it's the one and only Hoppers in the commentary box, as per usual, for the season. I'm just going to check something. Okay, so that's cool. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here at Catayluna for the opening 3 races, and you know, it's looking likely that we're going to probably see the likes of the new guys from the Clios potentially going to set the benchmark. Okay mate, that's cool, but obviously, like I say mate, drop the Eldar Sim Facebook page a message, and one of the admins will get back in touch with you mate, if you're interested. But yeah, at the moment it's a main championship event, so I can't promise anything at the moment. But yeah, as I was saying, we've got the new drivers from the Clios joining us from obviously last season. It looks like they're a force to be reckoned for, as Panos there has done a 152.3 there, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with these guys within, obviously, you know, they've gone from a rear-wheel drive Clio to now potentially quite a faster Porsche Cayman obviously GR4 Sport, GR4 spec. Couldn't even get my words out there, but from a GR4 specification, Porsche Cayman, as Dean Atkinson just enters the lobby there, so that's good. So that pushes up. So we have got potentially quite some drivers, basically season returning, and also potentially new drivers, as I say. But it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait for this season to. But yeah, as I say, I can't wait for this season potentially to basically begin and kick off from where we had last week. Well, last season, should I say, not last week. Last season's championship was dominated by none other than James Stephen and of course Gareth Morris. For those who don't know, them two were battling hammer and tongue every race meeting, and every time they had a meeting, you know, every meeting there was quite a lot of what's the word? Potentially a lot of battles galore with James and Gareth. But you know, along the way there was new race winners. There was obviously lots of controversy, and there was a lot of things going on. But as I say, guys, you know, obviously if you're new to around here, obviously go and check out the Eldar Sim Facebook page. There's a lot of championships to be on offer, and potentially, you know, we will have to see what goes on. Obviously there's two penalty zones this evening, and the start-finish line is one of them. You've got to take your penalty before you cross the timing line, otherwise it will go against you, providing, you know, that if it's that part where you've got your penalty, so the last part of the lap, and then in the middle sector before the end, towards the end of the lap, there is another penalty, so you will have to take it before the line there, otherwise it will go against your time. These guys obviously know a lot about the penalties and know how to take them. I do not have to remind them, but I do not have to worry about basically reminding them. But yes, it's going to be very interesting this evening. As I say, we've got a mixture of series new people and also returning drivers. But yes, guys, Catayluna, the home of the Spanish Grand Prix. I'm going to pull up a track map because then we know where we are going, and it is going to be potentially very interesting within this evening. As I say, Catayluna circuit, as it's known, circuit Barcelona Catayluna. It's not really changed much, it's just part of different laps. So you've got turns 1, 2 and 3, and obviously turn number 4 within basically going into Repsol, and then into 5, and then you've got TV3 into 7 and 8. 9's a bit flat out, obviously that's going to be interesting. Then you've got Nicaxa at 10, 11 and 12, and then obviously Europea, is that? At 13, and obviously 14 and 15 RACC, and then Catayluna at the back end of the circuit. But yes, we've got 9 minutes until the lap of honour for Captain Tom Moore, and yes, it is a bit of emotional. Speaking, you've got Dean Atkinson in his sort of fluorescent but we will have qualifying at 7:45, so hopefully we get the lap of honour done before then. But you know, if we don't, it doesn't matter. I'll start qualifying around basically round about then, but hopefully we should be okay. But you know, our hearts and condolences, all of us from Eldar Sim Racing, for the fate of Sir Captain Tom Moore, who sadly lost his life with COVID-19 at the age of 100. So as I say, guys, welcome to the stream. If you're watching, it's going to be a mega evening, and hopefully, as we see Dean in his nice fluorescent green and white Porsche Cayman, it is going to be very interesting to see what happens. Hopefully we shall have a bit of interest, and hopefully technically a bit of easy going for basically this evening. But as I say, you've got the likes of Christian Swire, who is new. He was going to be racing in the Mazdas, but you know, he's now in the Porsche Cayman, so he's now in sort of the purple. But I think it's the purple, and yeah, it's the purplish Cayman. So we have 8 minutes until the lap of honour, and yes, we'll pay our respects, as I say. But yes, if you want to see what is on offer this evening, you got on the Eldar Sim Racing second channel, you have the Hoppers Motorsport Vlogs hosted by Darren Baldwin, doing the commentary for the Hoppers Motorsport Vlogs MX-5s. You have myself, Hoppers, on the normal Eldar Sim channel, doing the brilliant Porsche Caymans, and also Malcolm Argyle, the Shell Lauren Motorsport British Touring Cars with Malcolm Argyle, doing the commentary for the British Touring Cars, as well as us doing the BTCC Blueprints Porsche Cayman. So yes, we'll be getting ready very shortly for the lap of honour. I'm hoping, you know, as I say, at the moment there is potentially 12 drivers on the grid, but you know, that's going to be probably roughly where we are at the moment. But you know, it's going to be pretty much interesting. Obviously, a new rule for this season, just to touch on it briefly, if anyone ends up somehow leaving the lobby, unless it's obviously internet issues, we do have a new rule. If anyone disconnects, unfortunately they will start from the back of the grid for whatever race it does end up happening. But it doesn't matter, it's the first race of the season, and it will be very interesting to see what happens. Basically, hopefully we shall have potentially a good evening's racing, and potentially a good season. So yes, we'll see what goes on. I'm just going to put in the chat why I'm here, just why everyone is potentially out on circuit. Just bear with. So I'm just going to put that on there, and just remind them it's 5 minutes until basically the lap of honour. Good evening, Jay. How's it going, mate? Nice to see you on board, mate. So basically, it will be very interesting to see what happens. But yes, the series is going to be potentially exciting, and it will be potentially one of them. You know, as I say, obviously, it's going to be one amazing thing. As I say, you know, we are going to be potentially going to be in for a mega season, as you know, everything can happen, but it is going to be potentially one of them. But as I say, we've got 10 minutes of qualifying ahead of us after the lap of honour. But obviously, you know, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens within the 3 7-lap races this evening as well, and anything can happen. But as I say, it's going to be probably going to be potentially anyone's guess to see what happens. So my title predictions already going into the new season, it all depends on everyone's potentially going to be very interesting as we see what goes on. Obviously we've got potentially now 3 minutes to go, until the lap of honour. But yes, it is going to be very interesting, but I'm looking forward to seeing what is happening. I don't know how well this season's going to go, but I believe Ismail Nemri is going to be potentially a title force reckoned for. But you know, they're all fighting for top place to get into the British Touring Cars for the season, for next season. But obviously, you know, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I can't believe how well this season is now finally here. Potentially, it's going to be one of them. Hopefully, Jay Baxter makes it into the lobby on time. But you know, it'll be very interesting. As I say, we've got obviously the lap of honour, and then obviously a 10-minute qualifying session, so it will be potentially very interesting. So we've got 2 minutes to go, roughly, but yes, it will be hopefully a mega season, and hopefully the guys can produce some epic racing. As I say, guys, you know, if you want to enter any championships or you want to take part within basically, if you want to see what's on offer at the Eldar Sim, what Eldar Sim do offer, is basically it will be nice to see you know, what you're capable of. You don't have to be quick as any of the top guys. We do cater for everyone's ability, as we all say. You know, we've still got space within. I think we've got a bit of space in the Peugeot 208 Cup, what takes place on a Tuesday night, and I believe there is reserve spots for the NSX Mugen Masters that takes place on a Wednesday, and GR2 as of Monday. The season 1 of the GR2s come to an end, and you know, it's going to be very easy. So the guys are going to pay respect to Captain Tom Moore in a moment or two. I'm just going to quickly drop where is he? He's there. Bear with 1 second, guys. So yeah, the lap of honour now should start, so if everyone could enter the grid. So bear with 1 second. Hopefully, as I say, they're all going to form up. So everyone is forming into place for the lap of honour. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long, but hopefully everything does potentially fall into place. So just going to make sure everyone's going to come round the last couple of corners before we get ready. So there is quite a few cars not in position, but it doesn't really matter. Who was that shot off? So we're just going to wait for the last couple of two people to go. and then potentially we will get ready as Jay Baxter has just entered. So do apologise guys, this is going to be one of them. So we are going to get the last couple of guys in position, just waiting for Jay Baxter just to join. He's just joined a bit late, but never mind, we will be essentially ready to go once he's in position. So let's get this on the road. So as I say, just one by one, the guys are just going to be paying respects to Sir Captain Tom Moore, who we sadly lost his battle with COVID-19 at the age of 100. You know, as I say, I'm going to let the guys just go off the grid, and then obviously, you know, he did a lot of miles raising money for the National Health Service, which is a true inspiration. So with the guys now potentially doing their parade lap, I'm going to pay my respects. So yeah, I will catch you guys in a moment. So guys, thank you so much for just paying respects for Sir Captain Tom Moore, who we lost this week at the grand old age of 100. So hopefully we will get ready for qualifying in a moment or two. I think the guys were just doing an extra lap just of honour. So let's get qualifying underway for round number 1 of the BTCC Blueprints Porsche Cayman. So yes, let's get ready to rumble, and hopefully these guys will form into a bit of an epic race, and hopefully it should be spectacular. As I say, it's going to last for 10 minutes. We are running a bit behind, but never mind, we shall be getting ready for potentially the first round of the championship. So it's the new championship, the BTCC Blueprints Porsche Caymans, here on the Eldar Sim YouTube channel. So massive respect for these guys for paying attention. Lee Fitzy will probably just wait for a bit. He's going to be the last one to leave pit lane, as all the others are going to be jumping out of potentially pit lane. So yes, but yes, absolutely mate, absolutely Jay, you know, absolute inspirational. As I say, you know, he was walking miles and miles up and down his garden, raised an absolute lot of money. But yes, we're now going to be live into the action for the 10-minute qualifying of the BTCC Blueprints Porsche Caymans, and I believe Lee Fitzy now has left pit lane. So yes, everyone is out of pit lane. They're just doing their outlap, so anything can happen here this evening, but hopefully it should be a good night of racing. As I say, you know, it's going to be very interesting to see what is going to happen. But as I say, guys, it's going to be proper, going to be amazing atmosphere. The Porsche Caymans, these Porsche Caymans, you know, they look very nice on track. But we will see who gets pole position for basically the first round of the championship. So obviously they're on super softs tyres, and they have a fuel depletion of obviously 1% as well, well times 1, as well as tyre wear as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see what these guys can do within this evening's race. Obviously, you know, you've got people already trying to break the toe with each other just because even though it's qualifying. But yes, it's going to be very ecstatic and exciting, and hopefully you guys can hear me okay. If you can't, just let me know and I will crank up the volume for myself and we'll be okay. But yes guys, this is round number 1 of the BTCC Blueprints Porsche Caymans here at Catayluna, and it is the first time we have visited here for the championship. Obviously you've got the likes of Scott Drifter and Richard Barton already having a bit of a battle in qualifying. You know, it's going to be very interesting. There's Jay Baxter, bless him. You know, he's obviously, you know, he's just obviously completed a season of the Porsche Caymans, but you know, he's back for a potentially another season within the Eldar Sim Porsche Caymans. You got Timmy Gilder basically in the peach and pink car, so he's going to be potentially on a charge. You got Max Robertson there as well as Ismail Nemeri, or Nemri. I'll have to get his surname correctly. You've got Adam Morgan in the pink highlighter, as I'm going to call it, the pink highlighter mobile. With 6.5 minutes remaining in qualifying, we should be able to be done by the time racing should be done. You've got Brian Ross making his debut. You've got Lee Fitzy as well as most of the others. But at the moment, this is going to be very interesting to see what happens here at Catayluna as Aussie Rooster hops the curb going into the penultimate section of the circuit. So it's going to be very interesting. What can he do? He will be the benchmark for the guys to set up his laps. So, you know, let's see what he can do. He's done a 154.8. Mark Palmer's done a 154.0. And you've got Scott Drifter with 154.0, 16. Richard Barton with 155.5. Dean Atkinson so far with 153.355. and then obviously God Give John, no, that was Timmy's time, sorry. Dean did a 150, yeah, so Timmy's set the pace. Adam Morgan with a 152.6 at the moment. So at the moment, guys, you know, Ginger Baxter did 215.2. So it's going to be very interesting, as Dean Atkinson says, evenings. So how's it going? So yes, Lee Fitzy did a 157.6. So at the moment, Adam Morgan is on pole position, provisional pole position with 5 minutes to go, and Brian Ross did a 209.9. So it's going to be very interesting. This, obviously, as I say, it's the first qualifying session of this season, and potentially, you know, these guys are going to be on a mission throughout the season. It's going to be probably interesting. The clouds are looking a bit grey and a bit dull at the moment, but as anything gets going, and a lot of things potentially have a lot of potentially pressure here at Catayluna at the moment. Adam Morgan there in the pink highlighter, as I'm going to call it, because it looks like a pink highlighter. He's on provisional pole position, as I say, with 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go. But anything can change in this qualifying session, as you know. But at the moment, he's 3.07 seconds up on his time. So he's got the best personal. He's got the best personal split. But it's going to be very interesting, because these guys are about to cross the line. Mark Palmer and Aussie Rooster. What are they going to do? They've not improved their times, so that's a bit unfortunate. But you've got God Give John, aka Panos, with 152.5 there. Timmy goes fastest with 152.4. So at the moment, it's looking likely Timmy is on pole position for the race, but you've got Max Robertson with a 156.3. So that's in ninth place. Ismail Nameri with a 153.3 at the moment, so it's going to be very interesting. Ginger Baxter with a 156.7. So, as I say, 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go until we get qualifying until we get the race one underway. You've got Lee Fitzy with 152.5, Brian Ross with 153.6, which has allowed him potentially up to 7th place at the moment, 3 minutes to go in qualifying. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be potentially very amazing. You know, I think, you know, these guys are going to potentially push on. So you've got Timmy at the moment, you've got Timmy Gill in pole position at the moment, within obviously pole position. Where is he? He's there. He's a bit in traffic at the moment. Obviously Dean Atkinson just moves out the way, taking his penalty in qualifying. But yes, it's going to be very interesting. So you've got Timmy versus Richard Barton, trying to break the toes from Richard Barton. At the moment, you've got Lee Fitzy up in second. You've got God Give John, you've got Panos. That is God Give John in third place, followed by Adam Morgan, followed by Ismail, and of course Dean Atkinson and Brian Ross. That's the top 7. Now Christian Swire in 8th, Mark Palmer 9th, Aussie Rooster 10th, and of course Richard, and of course Scott Drifter potentially was taking pole position there, but God Give John, Panos takes pole position at the moment with 152.3, and Timmy was little bit close behind, but you know, it's going to be very interesting. So you've got Richard Barton, Aussie Rooster, and Max Robertson and Ginger Baxter between 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th. But yes, it's going to be very interesting. As I say, get into the 1.5 minutes to go. Ginger Baxter with 154.8 dead, so that's going to be very interesting. Lee Fitzy there does a 152.4, so that's put him still in third place at the moment. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens within the race. So you've got Panos in first place at the moment, followed by Timmy, followed by Lee Fitzy, and of course Adam Morgan. So it's going to be pretty much interesting. Then you have Scott Drifter in 5th place at the moment, followed by Ishmael and Dean Atkinson, and of course Brian Ross with a minute to go. As I say, these qualifying sessions, these 10-minute qualifying sessions can really get really interesting, obviously, with these guys, as we have got some very interesting times going to fall onto the board with 40 seconds remaining. Obviously, you know, the guys haven't really got much tone at the moment, but you know, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the remaining bit of qualifying. You've got half an hour, well, not half an hour, 30 seconds until checkered flag drops for qualifying, so anything can happen now. If these guys can get their foot flat to the floor, they will have another crack at another lap. But yes, at the moment it's going to be looking like God Gift John Panos is going to be on pole position. You've got Scott Drifter, Christian Swire up into potentially 4th place at the moment, so that's going to be very interesting. Mark Palmer with a 153.9. You've got Dean Atkinson pushed his way up, potentially up into 6th place with 152.9. So it's going to be very interesting. It's, you know, qualifying now for some has technically ended, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. You got some that are on a flying lap at the moment. You know, you've got like Ginger Baxter, you know, going to be potentially on a charge. You've got Lee Fitzy basically with a 152.3. That's going to still put him 3rd fastest. Brian Ross with 153.5, so that's pushed him up still into 8th place there. But again, it's going to be very interesting. You've still got some of the guys out on a flying lap at the moment, so you've got basically Panos there with a 152.3, so it's going to be very interesting. You know, he's in the 152s. I reckon he's a force to be reckoned for this season. It will be very interesting, but we will see what happens. Some of the guys that are on the flying laps now potentially could push their way to pole position, but Panos is down on his time at the moment in sector, but I believe some of these guys are going to be pushing it. So you've got, it's going to be very interesting, as I say, going into the last bit of qualifying. You know, you've got Scott Drifter ahead of God Gift John at the moment, but anything can happen within this race. As I say, Scott Drifter there getting a bit crossed up going out of the last corner there, which is nearly hampered. Aussie Rooster gets a 154.8. But what's Panos gonna do here? He doesn't improve. Scott Drifter doesn't improve this time round. Mark Palmer doesn't either, nor does Timmy. But it is going to be potentially interesting as Dean Atkinson goes across the line, but he's still 6th fastest. And it is God Gift John from Timmy from Lee Fitzy, and of course Christian for potentially first, second and third on the grid, and potentially 4th. And then obviously Adam Morgan from Dean Morgan and Ismail and Brian Ross, Mark Palmer, Richard, and of course Ginger Baxter and Oz Rooster, and of course Max Robertson at the rear of the field. But we are getting ready for race number 1. This is round number 1 of the BTCC Blueprint, live from Catayluna on the Eldar Sim YouTube channel. We've got the red light on, the starting gantry about to change to green now. Who's going to get a good start into turn number 1? Panos has a bit of a bog down start there. Timmy leads the race, is 7 laps, but Lee Fitzy already up into 2nd. Max Robertson slowly but has dropped to the back of the field as God Gift John goes on the inside of Lee Fitzy going into turn number 1. This is going to be potentially exciting. We've got a battle between Dean Atkinson and of course Scott Drifter. At the moment you've got Adam Morgan, Ginger Baxter, Mark Palmer, and of course Ismail Nameri at the back of the middle of the pack there. You've got obviously Mark Palmer's dropped down a bit as Adam Morgan gets a bit wide. I didn't see exactly what happened. Could we pick it up, or is it going to be a bit late into there? But let's see. Mark Palmer gives Adam just a bit of a knock into potentially that corner there. So between Max Robertson, Adam Morgan and Mark Palmer at the back of the field as God Gift John goes. He's gone off and he's rejoined in front of Ismail Nameri, but you've got Ginger Baxter and of course Ismail battling for potentially 5th and 6th at the moment, but the battles are going to be heated up. You've got Brian Ross lurking in the background between these guys. You've got God Gift John trying to take Ismail Nameri, and of course Brian Ross potentially trying to get through into 6th place as he does. But you've also got God Gift John and of course Ishmael battling at the moment. I believe that, you know, Timmy's starting the lead of the race as he hops the curb. Scott Drifter, Christian Swire in third. Then you've got Brian Ross and God Give John battling side by side as we go through the final turn. And, you know, it's going to be very interesting. You've got Ishmael and, of course, Aussie Rooster and Richard and, of course, Adam Morgan for 9th, 10th and 11th. And potentially 8th place. You've got Mark Palmer in 12th, Max Robertson in 13th. But at the moment, going back to this battle of the race, at the moment you've got Timmy versus Lee Fitzy, and of course Christian and of course Dean battling for 3rd, 4th, 5th, no, 3rd, 2nd and 1st. Potentially, you've got Ginger Baxter in the Gingerbread Curl in 5th place with Brian Ross and of course God Give John. But we're going to go and see what's happening at the front, because there is potentially a lot of pressure for Timmy Gill in 1st place. At the moment you've got Scott Drifter, Christian Swire potentially in 3rd place at the moment, but he's potentially going to take 2nd on the outside, but he's now going to have the inside for turn number the next bit, but he's right on the boot lid of Lee Fitzy going down to the back straight here. We've got Dean Atkinson potentially in 4th place, God Give John now up into 5th place, with Ginger Baxter in 6th place, followed by Brian Ross in 7th. It soon could be 6th place within these guys. You've got obviously Ginger Baxter now unfortunately has been overtaken by Brian Ross. Got Ishmael and Murray trying to hold off Aussie Rooster for potentially 8th place, but unfortunately he's dropped back a bit now, which has allowed Adam Morgan and potentially Richard Barton to get through. So obviously Ishmael's now dropped a few places. Mark Palmer also chasing him, Max Robertson there trying to latch onto the back of this, but at the moment, going back to this battle slightly, Ginger Baxter is trying to push on, potentially trying to keep the guys behind him. You've got Timmy trying to eke out that gap, roared on lap number 3 out of 7, and you've got Lee Fitzy potentially under pressure, a lot of pressure at the moment going into the first 2 turns from Scott Drifter there. Dean Atkinson in the white and fluorescent green car putting him under pressure as well. You've got God Give John 5th, you've got Brian Ross 6th. Ginger Baxter at the moment doing a fabulous job trying to keep Aussie Rooster and of course Adam Morgan behind him, but this is going to be potentially a bit of a move. This battles galore. You got Richard Barton versus Ismail Murray going into Repsol there as Adam Morgan tries to make a move on Ginger Baxter for 7th place. Ginger Baxter still has the inside, which Adam Morgan gets a bit of a slow exit going out of a 2nd turn. He gets a bit of a wobble and a slide there, but you know it's going to be very interesting as Richard has a bit of a 5/10 penalty, which, you know, it's going to be very interesting. You've got Ginger Baxter holding off these new season contenders for this season. Obviously he runs a bit wide, which is going to be allowing Adam Morgan and Aussie Rooster to rejoin the battle, but you know, fair play, he's still got it sticked into, but he's been hammered by Aussie Rooster and obviously Ishmael Murray is going to be alongside him. You've got Mark Palmer there trying to take the move on Ginger Baxter from 9th place, which he does. Mark Palmer's also in the background. It looks like the guys at the moment are struggling, but Mark Palmer takes a move on Ginger Baxter there going into the final part of the circuit. You've even got Richard and of course Max Robertson battling for 12th and 13th, but we'll see what's going on further up the field. At the moment you've got potentially Scott Drifter under a lot of threat from potentially Dean Atkinson and Lee Fitzy also still battling, so there'll be a battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th at the moment. Timmy's trying to eke out that gap within obviously potentially 1st place as we are on lap number 4 out of 7. But as I say, this is going to be very interesting. Dean Atkinson makes a move on to Scott Drifter going into Repsol, which he does, which is now takes 3rd place from Christian Swire there. So it's going to be very interesting. Christian Swire thinks about making a move, gives him a bit of a love tap saying that's going to be my line into here. but let's see what goes on. You've got obviously Dean Atkinson and Christian Swire having a battle for 3rd and 4th at the moment. You know, Christian Swire closes the door there. You've got Godgift John in 6th place. You've got Adam Morgan from Aussie Rooster and Ismail Nameri trying to potentially pass Aussie Rooster for 8th place. He's got a bit of a... That's Aussie Roosters up 5/10 penalty. You've got Ginger Baxter 10th, Mark Palmer 11th, and Richard and of course Max Robertson at the back of the field. But at the moment you still got this battle between Dean Atkinson and Christian Swire into the latter part of the lap, going into the new bit of the chicane here at Catayluna. So going into our RACC, into potentially the last bit of the lap. But this is going to be very interesting. Christian Swire gets a bit sideways when he hops the curb, but Dean Atkinson had a worse exit. He's now going to have to catch onto the back of Christian Godgift John, aka Panos. He's 5th place. He's going to be catching up to Dean Atkinson any moment if Dean's not very careful. But this is going to be fantastic. Timmy Gill at the moment still in the lead of the race. This is only lap number 5, so 2 laps to go within this race. You've got Brian Ross still in 6th place. You've got Adam Morgan and Ismail Nameri's now got past Aussie Rooster for potentially 8th place. You've got Ginger Baxter trying to have a battle with Mark Palmer as well as Ginger Baxter, so for 9th, 10th and 11th are trying to have also a battle. You've got Richard and of course Max Robertson, should I say, up in potentially having a battle into the bottom half, so 12th and 13th at the moment. But we're going back to this battle quickly between Godgift John and of course Dean Atkinson and of course Christian Swire. But I believe Lee Fitzy now has trying to get the gap down up into Timmy's gearbox for potentially 1st place. But you know, it's going to be very exciting. So there's a bit of battles galore going on. So you've got obviously Timmy going to be under a lot of threat now from Lee Fitzy potentially for the first win of his race. But you've got Scrap Drifter and of course Dean Atkinson and Godgift John, Brian Ross and Adam Morgan. You've got Ismail and of course Ginger Baxter, showing exactly what's required of these guys. But you've got Aussie Rooster and Mark Palmer going side by side, going to be banging door mirrors together. But Mark Palmer's going to try and make a move on to Aussie Rooster, going into this little bit of a turn. Aussie Rooster drops down into 11th, which is allowed Richard to try and gain up into potentially a 11th place, but we're going to see what's going further back. But you've obviously got Godgift John at the moment. You've got Panos trying to get past Dean Atkinson into the final turn, but you know, on to the penultimate lap of the race at the moment. You've got Timmy potentially going to be holding on for his first victory. Bear in mind though, you know, 0.3 seconds of a gap as Godgift John tries to make a move on Christian Swire, and of course Dean Atkinson go into turn number 1. I thought Dean was going to actually just get past him, which he does, but Godgift John's going to be there. Oh, Dino's got past him. What a move! But you know, it's going to be very interesting. Lee Fitzy up the road. Here's 0.2. Made that 0.1 now. He's going to be all over the back of Timmy for the race lead. Going into this left-hand turn here, Lee Fitzy had a bit of a knock with Timmy there, but we're on the penultimate lap of the race already. And to tell you this, it's been very exciting. Already taking it easy in the first race of the evening. But I believe, you know, this is going to be very interesting to see what happens. Is Lee Fitzy going to make a move on Timmy for potentially first place? We shall see what goes on here. But I'll tell you this is going to be fantastic stuff. But as we see Lee Fitzy trying to position the car where Timmy could be under threat. You've got Dean Atkinson and Panos still battling for 4th and 5th. We'll see what's going on further back. You've got Brian Ross trying to hold off Adam Morgan. Then you've got obviously Ismail Nameri potentially holding off Ginger Baxter, Mark Palmer there now trying to hold off from Aussie Rooster. But as we see, I believe Max Robertson and of course Richard Barton are still having a bit of a battle for 12th and 13th, which is a bit interesting going on to that. But we're just going to go back to a couple of battles. You got Lee Fitzy potentially now on the final lap of the race already. Does not seem like we've started this race, but you know, Timmy's trying to eke out that gap from none other than Lee Fitzy. But this is going to be very interesting. You've got Panos making a move on Dean into turn number 1. Dean thinks, and otherwise this is going to be spectacular stuff side by side with these two. Is Panos going to get past Dean, or is Dean going to have the line? But this is going to be very interesting as we go down towards Repsol, who's going to break the latest. But this is going to be very interesting as we see side by side into Repsol. Dean Atkinson gets taken from 4th place, but is he going to fight back? He has fighted back, he has. Panos doesn't know what to do. He wants to get past that luminous green and white car of Dean Atkinson, but this is going to be fantastic stuff. Lee Fitzy's binned it, so that's, I don't know whether, I'm trying to see what happened here very quickly if we can. But you know, I believe he's just pushed on. He's just pushed it onto the dirt. That's a bit of a shame. That's dropped him down into potentially 7th place. Timmy will have now that advantage. You've still got this battle between Dean Atkinson and God Gift John there for 3rd, but you know, this is Adam Morgan's now up in 7th, Brian Ross into 6th place, Lee Fitzy 7th, then you've got Ismail and Ginger Baxter, Mark Palmer, Ozzy Rooster and Richard, and of course Max Robertson. But what about this? If I can just quickly see what's going on, Timmy Gill, what is he going to be like? He's going to be ecstatic with this win. Obviously made the move within these guys. He takes the first victory of the season, followed by Christian Swire and Panos in 3rd. Dean Atkinson comes home in 4th with Adam Morgan taking 5th place. Brian Ross and Lee Fitzy in 6th and 7th. And then you've got Ismail coming home in 8th. And obviously Ginger Baxter and Mark Palmer in 10th, followed by Andrew Osler in 11th. Then you've got Richard and of course Max Robertson in 13th, 12th and 13th. But I'll tell you what, guys, as I say, it was very, very interesting to see what was going on. But I'll tell you this is going to be obviously a sensational victory for Timmy. Timmy's obviously going to be very happy with that, to take potentially take a well-deserved victory within the first race of the season. But as I say, it is going to be potentially one of them. I'll tell you this, it is going to be very interesting to see what they do within basically race number 2. As I say, I'm just going to potentially get the replays and then go through the results, and then potentially hopefully things will happen. But as I say, Timmy drove exceptionally well. There wasn't really much action in the field, but it would have been very interesting to see what happens. You know, I'm just going to obviously just quickly grab the screenshot of the race, and then we'll go through So we have got Timmy in 1st place, followed by Scrap Drifter, and of course God Gift John. Dean Atkinson in 4th, followed by Adam Morgan and Brian Ross, and then you got Lee Fitzy and of course Ishmael, and of course Ginger Baxter and Mark Palmer and Ozzy Rooster, and then you've got Richard and of course Max Robertson. Fastest lap actually went to God Gift John on lap number 2 with a 152.2, and it will be very interesting to see what happens. As we see, you know, it was potentially going to be very interesting within So it will be very interesting to see what happens. As I say, it will be potentially hopefully going to be a good laugh for potentially the second race. The weather is getting warmer, and I'll tell you this, it will be very interesting. So then, we are ready for race number 2. Let's hopefully it does better. Let's rock and roll for race number 2. It is a rolling start and potentially going to be very interesting. As I say, it is going to be potentially a rolling start from the back of the grid, so Max Robertson will take pole position for this one, and then it will be very interesting to see what happens within this second race of the BTCC Blueprints Porsche Caymans here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catayluna, and it will be pretty much interesting. So you got Max Robertson from Richard Barton from Aussie Rooster, and of course Mark Palmer, so it will be very interesting. I'm just double checking everyone is here. I believe they are, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens within this second race. So if it's anything going to be potentially interesting as we get ready for the second race of the evening, as Max Robertson will lead them away. Is he going to get a good start into turn number 1? Just going to make sure just everyone has got through okay within the pack. Yes, they have. So that's going to be very interesting. Max Robertson leads the way from Richard Barton, followed by Andrew Osler in the place. Then you've got Mark Palmer, of course Ginger Baxter and Lee Fitzy getting past Ishmael Nameri for potentially now 6th place at the moment. Brian Ross in 8th place, followed by Adam Morgan and Dean Atkinson and God Give John. These two were battling in race number 1. Aussie Rooster already up into was already 3rd, but I believe Richard Barton's dropped down into 4th place, which he has. Yes, Max Robertson leads the race at the moment, followed by Mark Palmer and Andrew Osler, and then obviously Richard Barton, and then Ginger Baxter and Lee Fitzy, and of course Ishmael, and then Brian Ross. Then you've got Adam Morgan, Dean Atkinson and God Give John, Drifter, Christian Swire, and of course Timmy Gill in 13th place at the moment. But this is going to be probably an interesting battle for race number 2 of the evening. Already you've got Max Robertson trying to eke out that gap from Mark Palmer at the moment, which he's doing fantastically. Mark Palmer in the gold and white car, followed by Aussie Rooster, and of course Richard Barton, as Ginger Baxter there tries to flash the lights to put off Lee Fitzy, and of course Richard Barton. Richard Barton drops down into potentially now 6th place, maybe 5th. Ishmael Nameri makes an absolute stellar move into the last section there. Can we try and catch that quickly on replay? Let's have a look. Can we catch it? Let's have a look. Yes, we can, because look at that. Takes 3 cars. It takes pretty much 2 cars, should I say, not 3 cars, but you've got Mark Palmer and Max Robertson leading Mark Palmer from Andrew Osler, and of course Lee Fitzy for potentially first, second, third and fourth. You've got Ishmael Nameri up into 5th place already, but there's been a bit of a prang between Mark Palmer and of course Lee Fitzy and of course Andrew Osler, battling the way up towards the front of the field. But at the moment, Lee Fitzy, Mark Palmer tries to overtake them guys, but you know it's going to be very close. You got Andrew Osler and of course Lee Fitzy battling for second and third. At the moment, Max Robertson going to be hounded like a pack of wolves if he's not careful. Mark Palmer gets past Aussie Rooster for potentially third place into the second bit of the corner there. You've got obviously, as I say, Ginger Baxter holding off Richard Barton, and of course Adam Morgan, Brian Ross, then God Gift John. Dean Atkinson now gets past, or is under pressure from Scott Drifter, and then obviously Timmy rather. I do apologise, Lee Fitzy in the lead of the race. I'm going to be very interested to see what happens. Max Robertson is not going to be giving up. He's already trying to challenge back for the lead. Mark Palmer there with a penalty. He's obviously, knows how to do this, but he's going to be costing time. Ishmael Nameri and Aussie Rooster have a bit of contact, but this is going to be fantastic. Ishmael Nameri up into 4th place already. But this is going to be probably one of the most interesting battles of the season. But this is where it's going to be potentially taken. But you know, Mark Palmer is going to be under threat now from Ishmael Nameri, potentially pushing on for potentially. They've got a link, but the toe. Look at how many cars have we got here? But you've got Max Robertson trying to hold off the gap of like Ishmael and of course Andrew Osler. And of course Richard Barton back up into 5th place, and then you've got Adam Morgan trying to take 6th place from Mark Palmer, but Mark Palmer's coming back at him in the highlighter pen, should I say, the hot pink highlighter pen. And I do apologise for a bit of a language slip. Well, you've got obviously Adam Morgan there trying to chase down Richard Barton and Mark Palmer. As you see, Ginger Baxter putting Mark Palmer under threat now. Max Robertson picked up a penalty, which is a bit unfortunate for Max. You've got Ginger Baxter, Mark Palmer, Brian Ross, God Gift John in a battle. So 4 cars trying to battle for potentially, I believe that he's battling for 7th place at the moment. But this is fantastic stuff. You've got Dean Atkinson also in the background. This is fantastic stuff from these guys. Timmy Gill's also race 1 winner. He's also in there. As I say, this is going to be very interesting going into the latter part of the race. You've got a few guys running a bit wide. Aussie Rooster and Adam Morgan battling for 4th and 5th. Richard Barton trying to make it possible. Oh, there's lots of action going on. Oh my days, look at this, there's a couple of cars, there's a lot of cars here, but this is going to be very interesting. But this is going to be probably really close to the action. You've got Ginger Baxter trying to get past, but there's a yellow flag. Aussie Rooster spins. I don't know exactly what happened because it was all bunched up. This is going to be very interesting here, which is allowed Lee Fitzy, I believe. Oh, that's a shame because I was wanting to see what was going on. But this is going to be very interesting to see Lee Fitzy at the moment in 1st place. Aussie Rooster, unfortunately, now has dropped out of the race. Well, you've got Ishmael Nameri in 2nd place. You've got Adam Morgan in 3rd. You've got Mark Palmer now in potentially 4th place. You've got Richard Barton in 5th. Dean Atkinson in potentially now 6th, under pressure from obviously Scott Drifter and of course Timmy and of course Ginger Baxter and of course potentially God Gift John as Brian Ross makes a move on panels trying to go into Repsol. But this is going to be very exciting. You've got Max Robertson in potentially 12th place, and I'll tell you this, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the latter part of the stages. We are already in on lap number 4 out of 7, and Scott Drifter is going to be pretty much interesting to see what happens within potentially the remaining bit of the race. But you've got obviously Dean Atkinson with that 5-10 penalty that's going to cost him time now, which it has done, because it's now dropped him potentially down into, it was obviously dropped him down into still in 7th place, but you know, it's going to be fantastic. You've got Timmy, race 1 winner, trying to make a move on Dean Atkinson here, but this is going to be probably a fraught battle. A couple of cars run a bit wide. Timmy, the race 1 winner, is still battling with Dean Atkinson. He gets a bit loose there, but who knows? Dean Atkinson makes the move. Timmy's not giving up though. What is going on? I'll tell you this is going to be fantastic stuff. You've got God Gift John trying to put these guys under a bit of pressure. You've got Ginger Baxter also battling away, but you've got Brian Ross and Richard Barton sadly back down in 11th place. Max Robertson also was there, so it's going to be potentially interesting as we see a lot of battles galore. You've got Ishmael coming under pressure from Adam Morgan, and then Mark Palmer and Scrap Drift. Oh, was that Scrap Drifter? Yes, up into 5th place. You got God Gift John and Timmy battling at the moment, side by side. This is going to be fantastic stuff. Dean Atkinson and Ginger Baxter also are going to be doing the same, so it's going to be potentially 4 cars, maybe 3 cars. Timmy there also. God Gift John pushes a bit wide, but it's going to be very interesting. You've got Brian Ross and Ginger Baxter also going side by side in the background, but this is going to be very interesting. God Gift John takes 6th place from Timmy. Scott Drifter's trying to chase down Mark Palmer at the moment, but this is going to be potentially exciting as we see here, going into potentially the latter part. So we're on lap 5 out of 7 already. You got Timmy potentially pushing on for potentially 6th place. You've got Dean Atkinson followed by Ginger Baxter and Brian Ross, and of course Richard Barton and Max Robertson still having that battle from race number 1. But at the moment Ginger Baxter comes under threat from Brian Ross, but Brian Ross has the inside. Ginger Baxter has the inside for the next bit of the turn. This is going to be fantastic. Brian Ross fighting back. Oh, Ginger Baxter runs a bit wide. Brian Ross gets past him there, but this is going to be fantastic stuff. Brian Ross gets past, but you've got this battle. Adam Morgan now still trying to chase down Ishmael, but you've got Scott Drifter and of course Mark Palmer for 4th and 5th. But this is going to be very interesting. As we say, Lee Fitzy in the middle of leading the race on the penultimate lap already, but this is going to be fantastic stuff. We've got Scott Drifter and Mark Palmer now battling to Christian Swire versus Scott Drifter for potentially 4th and 5th place. You know, this will be very interesting as we go into potentially the latter part of the races. But as I say, Mark Palmer runs a bit wide going to Repsol, which was a bit unfortunate. So Mark Palmer now has dropped down to the rear of the field, which is a bit unfortunate. You've got Ginger Baxter and of course Max Robertson in 10th and 11th, Richard Barton up into 9th. Then you have potentially Timmy in 6th place, followed by Dean Atkinson in 7th. Obviously Panos still in 5th place, but obviously it's going to be very interesting. You've got now Adam Morgan trying to make a move on Ishmael Nameri going into this turn. Ishmael gets the inside line, but it will be Adam Morgan's turn, and Ishmael will have potentially, he's lost a bit of a place there to Adam Morgan, but you know, got Lee Fitzy eking out that lead as Ishmael Nameri flashes the lights, probably in anguish to say, come on mate, you know, it was my line, but you never know. But Adam Morgan there in 2nd place, and Ishmael Nameri in 3rd place at the moment. But you've got Christian Swire in 4th, God Gift John in 5th, then you've got Timmy in 6th, then you've got Dean in potentially 7th, Brian Ross 8th, then you've got Ginger Baxter and Richard Barton for 9th and 10th, Max Robertson in 11th, Mark Palmer in 12th place there at the moment. But it's going to be fantastic to see what happens with these guys come the end of the race. But we are now on the final lap of the race. This has been fantastic yet again, but I'll tell you this, it is going to be a bit of a battle. Adam Morgan there having a bit of a gap from Ishmael Nameri. Then you've got Scrap Drifter aka Christian Swire, 4th place. Timmy still in 5th place. You've got Godgift John, potentially now in 6th place. Brian Ross and Dean Atkinson off there as well. Ginger Baxter holding off at the moment is potentially Richard Barton. You've got Max Robertson there with his penalty, which, you know, he's 11th. Mark Palmer 12th, and obviously we lost Andrew Ostler within, I believe it was a bit of a mechanical fault, but the team will hopefully should get him out for race 3. But this is going to be potentially exciting stuff, but you know, anything can happen in the last lap of the race. I believe Ishmael Murray now slowly has got a bit of a trying to chase down Adam Morgan for potentially 2nd place, so anything can happen within potentially within the latter part of the lap. But Lee Fitzy at the moment eking out that 4.4 of a gap there to Adam Morgan. But Lee Fitzy at the moment, this, you know, it's very weird that these guys are potentially Lee Fitzy takes a first victory in the Porsche Cayman, so he comes through to take the checkered flag, followed by Adam Morgan there. I believe Ishmael Nameri has potentially got 3rd on the line from Scrap Drifter. Yes, he has. Scrap Drifter comes home in 4th, then Timmy in 5th, followed by Godgift John 6th, then Dean Atkinson in 7th, then Brian Ross in 8th, Ginger Baxter 9th, and Richard Barton 10th. Mark Palmer now comes home in 11th, and then Max Robertson in 12th. So that was quite eventful for the second race, but anything could happen, as I don't know what happened to Andrew Ostler, because it looked like he had obviously a good start, but it was you know, it's potentially a lot of things. But potentially I will get the replay up, and also I will basically get the results of the grid, because I'm going to probably have to set the grid because Andrew Ostler didn't finish. So let's have a look. So we will see what happens within potentially the race. It is going to be very exciting. We are going to be potentially a lot of things going on within race number 3, but you know, anything can happen. So yeah, we're very interesting, but as we say, guys, it will be one of them. So I'm just going to wait for everyone to ready up, and then we'll get ready for the last race of the evening, and it will be interesting to see what happens within. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens within the last race of the evening. As I say, it is going to be potentially a standing start, and it will be Lee Fitzy on pole position, followed by, I believe it was followed by Ishmael Nameri. But we shall. No, it wasn't. It was Adam Morgan. I do apologise. So I will potentially give you the race results. So Lee Fitzy, followed by Adam Morgan, and then Ishmael Nameri with the top three on the podium. Then you had Scott Drifter, followed by Timmy Godgift John and Dean Atkinson, and of course Brian Ross from 5th to 8th. Then you had Ginger Baxter, Richard Barton, and Mark Palmer and Max Robertson. Sadly, Andrew Ostler had a mechanical fault after a bit of contact, and Timmy got the fastest lap with a 1:52.5 on lap number 6. So we are getting ready potentially for race number 3 of the evening, and it will be potentially very interesting to see what happens. So we've got 2 minutes to go until the last race of the evening. As I say, guys, any incidences will be looked at, and it will be potentially very interesting. But it will be amazing to see what happens within the last race of the evening. Obviously, you know, anything can happen, and it will potentially be one of them. But as I say, it will be mega, and it will be interesting. But as I say, it will be potentially one of them, and I can't wait to see what happens within this evening, as we are getting ready for another exciting race. You know, it is going to be potentially one of them, but as I say, anything can happen in this race. It is the last race of the evening, and so far there's been a bit of action. There's been a bit of knocking about, but you know, I think it's part of the nature. I think it's obviously a bit of tightness around the back end of the circuit. So let's hopefully we get ready to go for the last race of the evening. So let's see what happens within the last race of the evening. So let's go and let's get going. So let's see what happens. But anything can happen. I believe everything is good to go, but yes, it is. Let's see what happens within the last race of the evening of the opening round of the second season of the Porsche Caymans. So yes, anything can happen. Adam Morgan and Lee Fitzy together on pole position, followed by Ishmael Nameri and of course Scott Drifter, Timmy from Godgift John, and Dean Atkinson and Brian Ross. This is where it's going to get very exciting and potentially going to be absolutely interesting to see what happens as we get ready for the last race of the evening. Who's going to get a good start, as I believe Godgift John, believe he got a good start there, but it is going to be very close to see what happens going into turn number 1. These guys are going to be potentially going to see who's the last of the breakers, but this is going to be very interesting. Dean Atkinson already up into 6th place. You know, you've got Scott Drift down into 7th place at the moment. Ginger Baxter and of course Brian Ross potentially battling, as Aussie Rooster and Mark Palmer are there in potentially 10th and 11th, but it's going to get really interesting up front because you got Ishmael Nameri trying to chase down Lee Fitzy and of course Adam Morgan, but you've got Dean Atkinson trying to make a move on Godgift John, as well as Timmy and Scott Drifter. This is going to be pretty much 3 cars for potentially 5th place at the moment. It's going to be anything can happen. Ginger Baxter also is there at the moment, but Timmy and Christian Swire having a bit of a battle. So then you've also got, I believe, Andrew Ostler potentially in 10th place, Mark Palmer in 11th, Richard Barton 12th, Matt Robertson in 13th at the moment. But this is going to be very interesting. We're already halfway through the second lap. First lap rather. Ishmael Murray gets a bit of a wiggle, gets a bit of a tap from God-Gift John to get straight into potentially stealing 3rd place, but anything can happen. Dean Atkinson in 5th place, already a good showing from Dean this evening, but it's going to be very interesting as God-Gift John and Ishmael Murray now try and have a bit of a battle. Adam Morgan hops the curb, so does Christian Swire there, but you know, God-Gift John alongside Ishmael Murray going on to the start-finish line. This is going to be potentially interesting. Dean Atkinson still under threat from Christian Swire, but as he puts Dean under pressure, Timmy Gill in the peach and pink car as God-Gift John makes a move on Ishmael Murray going into turn number 1, but Ishmael closes the door. Timmy makes a move for 5th place. That was absolutely a good move. We actually didn't see exactly what had happened, but that was absolutely fantastic. But Dean Atkinson gets back in front so far. We've got Ishmael Murray and Panos having a bit of a moment there, but this is going to be probably obviously, as I say, it's the last race of the evening, so anything can happen. So Panos now in 3rd place, Ishmael in 4th, Dean Atkinson still under threat from Timmy there for potentially 5th place at the moment, but Ishmael's dropped into the clutches of these guys. You've got Ozzy Rooster and Ginger Baxter further back. Brian Ross potentially where's Brian? Brian is in 8th place. Christian Swire under a bit of pressure from Brian Ross there potentially, but this is going to be probably very interesting. Got Ozzy Rooster and Ginger Baxter battling behind. Then you got Mark Palmer and of course Richard Barton as well, Max Robinson at the rear of the field. But this is going to be proper interesting. You've got Ishmael and Dean Atkinson now having a bit of battle now, that because as we can see, Timmy's now trying to make a move on Dean Atkinson potentially for 5th place at the moment. Timmy gets a bit sideways, allows Dean to have a bit of a break. Ishmael's holding up these guys, so it's potentially, what's happened to Adam Morgan? He's dropped from potentially 2nd place, which is allowed Panos now up into 2nd place, which is now going to clash onto the back of Lee Fitzy for potentially 1st place. You got Ishmael under threat from Dean Atkinson for the podium, but this is going to be fantastic stuff. You've got Scrap just to make it 3 wide, potentially 3 wide into turn number 1. Oh my days. But you've got Timmy there trying to lurk into the background as well. This is a bit unfortunate, you know. Dean Atkinson under threat from Scott Trista there. You know, fair play to Ishmael. But Timmy's going to try and make it 3 wide into Repsol. Is he? No, he's not. He's not. But he will. He's lurking in the background. Brian Ross up into 7th at the moment. We'll see what's going on further back between, I believe, Ozzy Rooster and, of course, Mark Palmer and, of course, Richard Barton. But this is going to be very interesting. Timmy there in 5th place so far, but Ishmael's backing these guys up. The more he backs them up, he's going to be under pressure from these guys. But this is going to be potentially very interesting. Christian Swire from Timmy, from of course Dean Atkinson and of course Brian Ross. But anything can happen. You've got Ozzy Rooster and Mark Palmer. Probably had a bit of an issue in race number 2, but you know, it's going to be very technically interesting. Ishmael had a bit of a penalty, I believe. Mark Palmer there and Ozzy Rooster having a bit of a battle, but Richard Barton gives Ozzy Rooster a bit of a slam in the side, which isn't going to be very interesting. Andrew Ostler with Mark Palmer there is going to be potentially interesting to see what happens. But it's going to be potentially Ozzy Rooster there. He's obviously in 8th place. but Richard Barton hop, skips and jumps on the grass there, which has allowed Ginger Baxter potentially through, but it's going to be one of them, but we'll see what's going on. Scott Drifter up into third from Timmy from Dean Atkinson, and of course Brian Ross Ishmael is in 7th place. Timmy gets a bit loose on the dirt, which is allowed Ginger Baxter, and of course Mark Palmer still having a bit of a battle, but Ginger Baxter and of course Richard Barton in 8th and 9th. Now you got Mark Palmer 10th, Aussie Rooster 11th, and Max Robertson 12th. Sadly, Adam Morgan is out of the race. I don't know exactly what happened between these guys, but he got kicked. Oh mate, that's a bit of a shame. Lee Fitzy and God Gift John are still battling, so you know it's going to be very interesting to see as Timmy makes a move on Brian Ross there. Ishmael Nameri still has a bit of a penalty. I don't know what happened. You've obviously got obviously Richard and then Mark Palmer and Andrew Ostler still battling for 10th and 11th at the moment. Well, lap 4 out of 7, so anything can happen still in this race. It is going to be probably one of them. But Max Robertson still having a leisurely drive, but you know he'll pick up the points. But you got Aussie Rooster and Mark Palmer still battling. You got Richard and Ginger Baxter battling away. But Ishmael takes his penalty as Timmy and Brian Ross have a bit of a battle going into the latter part of the circuit. But this is going to be very interesting. Brian Ross on the outside. Timmy Gill fighting for 5th place at the moment with Brian Ross. So this is going to be potentially very interesting. But it is going to be potentially very interesting with 3 laps to go. Ginger Baxter and Richard Barton still having a bit of a battle. Mark Palmer now braking from Aussie Rooster, which is going to be very interesting. Aussie Rooster in 11th, Max Robertson still in 12th place at the moment, but the lead for Lee Fitzy is 5 and 10th and 2nd between God Gift John. But this is going to be very interesting. We'll try and cover this battle if we can, as well as much as any of the other battles as we see on circuit. But at the moment you've got Christian Swire in the 3rd place from Dean Atkinson, and of course Dean and Brian Ross there. You've got Ishmael in 6th, Richard Barton in 7th place now, and I believe Timmy's now dropped down to 9th as Ginger Baxter runs a bit wide there, going out towards Repsol. But that, you know, that's going to be fair play. Mark Palmer and Timmy are going to now battle, but that's going to be very interesting. So Mark Palmer now has a car between, well, 2 cars between him and Aussie Rooster. But you know, anything can happen in these 3 remaining laps. But it's going to be pretty much interesting. God Gift John there still putting Lee Fitzy a bit under pressure, but the gap's grown a bit. You've got Dean Atkinson in 4th place, Brian Ross 5th place at the moment, followed by Ishmael and obviously Richard, and of course Timmy, and then obviously Mark Palmer for 7th, 8th and 9th, and then obviously Ginger Baxter 10th. Then you've got Aussie Rooster 11th, and obviously Max Robertson. But it's going to be very interesting. There's not really much battles at the moment because they're all equally spread out, but anything can happen in this race, and you've got Timmy and Richard Barton having a bit of a battle here. But this is going to be fantastic. Timmy versus Richard Barton for potentially 7th and 8th. This could potentially end in tears. Timmy hops the curb, goes a bit sideways, drifts in front of Richard Barton there, which Richard doesn't know exactly what he was thinking, but you know, fair play, Timmy's got the place, and I'll tell you what, Richard Barton there will have, he will try and push on. Got Mark Palmer trying to push on as well, in the background lurking Aussie Rooster now up into 10th place. So anything can happen as Timmy tries to stay on the inside for turn number 1, but you know, Richard Barton there will try and fight back, as I see Mark Palmer now in the background trying to chase after Richard Barton there, which he does. But as I say, anything can happen and potentially will be very interesting. Mark Palmer now tries to make a move on Richard Barton into Repsol, but Richard Barton closes the door. I'll try and keep an eye on this battle as we can, but Dean Atkinson and Brian Ross now are battling for 4th and 5th. But this is going to be potentially very interesting indeed. But Dean Atkinson there is going to be one of is going to be seriously trying to get Brian Ross to trying to make a mistake from trying to overtake him as well, but who knows what will happen. This will be interesting. Brian Ross tries to make a move on Dean Atkinson, try and catch up to that battle in a minute. Mark Palmer and obviously Richard Barton are still having a bit of a battle, but this is going to be potentially very interesting. You got Dean Atkinson versus Brian Ross for potentially 4th place at the moment. This is going to happen. Brian Ross is going to... Brian gets a bit sideways there, which is cost him time. That's going to allow Ishmael Nameri to try and catch up as well. But this is going to be interesting. You've got Timmy trying to break out that gap from Richard Barton. You've got Mark Palmer with a bit of a penalty there as well. But Ginger Baxter now got past Aussie Rooster. Don't know exactly what happened. I'll see if we can actually technically try and pick it up on the replay just for a moment, but you know, has he just lost it on his own accord? Yeah, he's just lost it there, which is a bit unfortunate for Aussie Rooster, which has now cost him a bit of time. But Max Robertson in 12th, you've got Lee Fitzy on the final lap of the race, making it potentially making it 2 from 2. Panos in 2nd, Christian Swire in 3rd, Dean Atkinson and Brian Ross obviously have a bit of a gap now. You've got Ishmael Nameri in 6th place, followed by Timmy and of course Richard Barton and of course Mark Palmer. Ginger Baxter at the moment, the Gingerbread Beale in 10th place. Aussie Rooster potentially, I don't know what's gone on there, but you know, I think he's had a bit of an issue there. I think his car's expiring with gearbox issues, but you know, Max Robertson in 12th place, but at the moment Lee Fitzy is still leading the race. I'll tell you what, there's not really much battles now going into the final lap of the race, but Timmy there in 7th, followed by Richard Barton and Mark Palmer and of course Ginger Baxter. It's going to be very interesting. Aussie Rooster still limping round, but you've got Lee Fitzy going to come through the last part of the lap, trying hopefully nice and neat going into the final turn. He's going to cross the line and take another well-deserved victory in the 3rd race of the evening. You've got God Give John in 2nd place, followed by Scrap Drifter, so Christian Swire gets onto the podium. Dean Atkinson in 4th, fair play to Dean, he's drove very well. Brian Ross in 5th, then Ishmael Nameri, followed by Timmy, followed by Richard Barton. So these guys have driven extremely well this evening as well. Then you've got Mark Palmer 9th, then you've got Ginger Baxter, and then obviously Aussie Rooster essentially in 11th place at the moment. But you know, he's going to potentially come home in 11th, and then Max Robertson in 12th. Sadly we lost Adam Morgan on, I think it was the opening lap. I don't know exactly what happened to Adam, but you know, I believe he had mechanical issues, but fair play, it's been very, very interesting indeed. But hopefully, you know, the racing was spectacular. As I say, you know, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens within the next round at Blue Moon Raceway, and it will be one of them. I'll tell you what guys, whatever happened during the race, you know, it's going to be potentially one of them. As I say, I'm just going to get a screenshot of the racing, and then I will give you guys the full results of round number 3 of the BTCC Blueprints here at Catayluna. So Lee Fitzy takes another lights to flag victory, and ahead of Panos there for potentially 2nd place. Scrap Drifter Christian Swire gets onto the podium ahead of Dean Atkinson and of course Brian Ross. Ishmael Nameri finishes 6th place, Timmy in 7th, followed by Richard Barton and Mark Palmer. Ginger Baxter 10th, Aussie Rooster 11th, and Max Robertson in 12th. Sadly we lost, as I say, Adam Morgan. I believe he had mechanical issues in his Porsche Cayman. Lee Fitzy gets the fastest lap with a 1:52.1 on lap number 5. So I tell you what guys, this has been probably most interesting and potentially one of the amazing races. I'll tell you what, I am looking forward to seeing what happens at Blue Moon Raceway as of next week. The title is going to be the championship's going to be wide open, and you know, as I say, if you got any incidences, do report them, because it will be very interesting to see what happens. But yes, thank you so much guys for having us. We will see what happens. So yes, we will see what happens next week at Blue Moon, whether anyone can stop the guys or anyone will take out another well-deserved victory. So guys, I'm going to head off now because I've got other commitments to take part in, and I will see you guys very soon. So yes guys, thank you so much. I cannot wait to see what happens at Blue Moon Raceway, and it will be very interesting. So without further ado guys, I've been Hoppers, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Ta-ra.